Good morning, friends of the channel. Hello. We're feeling emotional because the tutorial we're about to show you will reveal something we've been working on for a long time. It's something very artistic. We started organizing months ago with the company we're the Italian importers, Redesign with Prima. Thanks to the great esteem that binds us, built up over these years of collaboration, we've decided to treat the Italian audience by offering a design that, Elisa from Magic Paint, is truly special. Hello, Pina. This is to tell you that we have created this restyling specifically so that this decoupage takes center stage on the piece of furniture. It's not an antique piece, it's a reproduction of a drop front desk from the 1980s, so it's not a historical antique, but we've decided to do everything we can to make the decoupage the star of this restyling. It's called Enchanted Forest, and it's a very special, bucolic decoupage, but as I, Elisa, see it, it's an Italian-style Enchanted Forest. It was designed so that all the Magic Paint colors match perfectly with the tones of this decoupage. It's very easy to use. It's made with tissue and it adapts to the furniture, which has a unique feature, because if you look at it, it's not perfectly straight. That's why I chose it for this launch, because I want to show you everything you need to do to use a product like this. So, let's get started. Long live Italy! We'll start by stripping the whole piece of furniture with our biodegradable paint remover. Just a quick preamble, or as Franco says, long-winded speech, but it's necessary to help you understand why this product is effective. This product is a paint remover and it removes paint. If the finishes are plastic, polyurethane, they cannot be removed with a paint remover. You can use other mechanical methods, such as a heat gun or sander, which mechanically remove the plastic finish. Some paint removers are very harsh and strong, capable of stripping plastics that are bad for the environment. This is not our case. Ours is biodegradable and harmless. We wear gloves for quicker cleanup after extensive stripping, but it's safe for bare hands. It's not harmful, even for pregnant women. Anyone can use it. One very important thing to remember is that it strips paint extremely well. It's not any less effective just because it's natural and biodegradable. It's highly effective. You just need to use the right methods. One last clarification. The paint stripper works on paints, but it doesn't remove anything that is a wood stain. A wood stain is a color that soaks into the furniture. So if I have raw wood and I apply the stain, it absorbs it, right? So, the wood stain needs to be removed mechanically using steel wool and alcohol. This way, you go over the entire surface and completely remove what has soaked in, revealing the original wood grain. Now, I'm sure this is a protective coating, so come here. As you can see, there's this little halo and underneath you can see a very light wood. This made me decide to strip the paint from the furniture because someone placed perfume. Anything alcoholic will damage varnishes, so when people tell you to disinfect furniture with alcohol, don't do it because it dulls and ruins the paint. Now, we can't use alcohol to strip all the paint because it's milder compared to a proper paint stripper, but putting a reed diffuser or things like that on the surface isn't always a good idea unless you put a dish underneath. So, dish first and then the diffuser, no problem. Seeing the beautiful wood underneath and noticing how much it's already been dented and damaged from wear or use, I realized that using a paint stripper would reveal some gorgeous wood. I'm going to strip it 2 brushes. I've already got an open can and I'll use it. I'm stripping just the top half of the piece. I'm not stripping the drawers or the front of the drop-down section because those will later be used for my decoupage. I'll strip everything else. To apply the paint stripper effectively, the first thing you need to do is observe this. I've just spread it on a few seconds ago, and yet, if you look closely, you'll notice that in some spots it's starting to become transparent. That means the underlying color is already lifting, and the paint stripper is already doing its job. If I were dealing with an extremely hot or very windy day, the first thing I need to make sure of is to position myself somewhere that isn't too exposed and not directly in the sun. And if by chance I have to run an errand and can't remove this paint stripper, I'll leave it covered with a plastic sheet or anything similar. The important thing is that it doesn't come into direct contact with air or sunlight. Now, take a look and see how it's starting to dissolve in some spots. When this happens, when it begins to break down, creating patches where areas are more covered in green, it means it's working. You mustn't be stingy when applying the paint stripper. It works, but not if you spread such a thin layer that you cover 10 square meters with a single can. Here, just to make it clear, this is not the way to do it. The paint stripper should be applied like this. It works if you apply it generously. I'll continue this over the whole piece of furniture. Let's see if it's worked. It's only been a very short time, but I'm already noticing that the paint stripper is even starting to dry out. So since it's already working perfectly, I'll remove it. Geppetto spatula and a tray that I always use for this kind of job, and off I go. Look here. If you pay attention, you'll notice the paint has obviously already been removed. And if you look closely, you'll see in some spots there's already bare wood, while in others there's still a bit of shine left. It's not that I haven't removed the shiny finish. It's just that the spatula is straight while the furniture obviously isn't. But look, if I go over it again, I remove all the remaining shiny finish. For this reason, when stripping paint, it's essential to keep alcohol and a steel wool close at hand. It's something I say very often, but you struggle to remember it because I see that many times, even in the group, you make posts telling me it hasn't been stripped properly. It's not that it hasn't been stripped properly, it's that you also need alcohol to make sure all the finish comes off well. Look, and voila, look here. If you look closely, inside it's full of dissolved brown paint. Now I'm going to remove all the paint stripper from this part and also from the sides, and then I'll go over it with the steel wool and alcohol. Look at how well the paint has come away. The wood has really come out exceptionally nice and light. Just look at this, and the paint is completely dissolved. Look closely, look right here. It's all completely and thoroughly dissolved. You can already see the lighter strip showing through, and obviously now everything will go even faster. Just look. I don't know if you remember what this drop-down panel looked like before I applied the paint remover, but look at it now, not a single mark or dent left. It was all the old paint's fault. Now I'm putting alcohol on my raw steel wool, and look at this, what a sight. I'm removing the last traces of paint remover, and the wood is wonderful. You must not use water because it would cause the veneer to come away, so that's something you should avoid. Instead, alcohol can be used directly and doesn't cause this problem. Look at this wood. Let's go here, where there's the upper part full of carvings, and look at how beautiful it is. What remains is a truly beautiful, naturally light-colored wood already, and of course now it will dry and lighten even more. But always remember that the true color of the wood is when it's wet. I'll add a little bit more, and just look. When I carefully go over it with the fine steel wool, a wonderfully vibrant color comes out. To smooth it out and remove imperfections, use the finer steel wool. You see, they're very different. One is rougher, one is finer. Always use alcohol and you'll refine the surface, removing any old scratches if there are any, and it will be beautifully shiny and purified. And voila, now we wait for it to dry and see what comes out. Look at the incredible difference between before and after. It's unbelievable. It doesn't look like the same furniture. We haven't stripped the drawers and the door because there's a surprise on them with my decoupage. I'm creating a different base because I want this base to show through the decoupage. So I'm applying Crackle Gel and a light color to make the design stand out. Since I haven't stripped it, the crackle definitely won't be absorbed much, so it will be clearly visible. I apply it by dabbing so that a lovely, fine crackle appears. If instead you spread it like this, you'll get a much more pronounced, bark-like crack. There's no right or wrong way. I just prefer the fine crackle, so I dab. I do this both on the door panel here and on the drawers. I apply it everywhere, then I wait for it to dry. Once the crackle is completely dry, I can apply the color. I did a test on the upper part and I like it. Now I'll show you the crackle effect. On the drawer, I applied it and dried it because the crackle liquid can be dried quickly using a hairdryer. The important thing is not to hold the hairdryer too close. Be careful because otherwise it creates bubbles that look unsightly. Now, you see, I run my hand over it and even though it looks shiny, it's completely dry. The tip to get a good crackle effect is not to be too fussy. What does that mean? It means that once you have applied it, you move on. You shouldn't keep going back, stroking, restroking, and smooth it out. Because otherwise you dampen the crackle layer underneath, you mix it up, and it won't work because the two layers must be separated. The crackle underneath and the color on top. Clear sand, brush, nice and loaded. In fact, to do this job, you always need to work with a fully loaded brush, so you stir it so the brush picks up the paint inside, where the reservoir is, and then you start. I always go from one side, so remember, everyone, get it right the first time, don't keep going over it. And here it is, our masterpiece, our Enchanted Forest. The furniture has been chosen specifically to make the most of this decoupage. What does that mean? It means we're using the full height and almost the entire width. We don't like to waste things, so we set aside this drop-down desk for this project. One thing you should always remember when using decoupage, whether it's rice paper or an alternative fabric like ours, is to make it as smooth as possible. It's not that it won't work if you apply it with a few creases or wrinkles. It will work, but it's easier and more manageable if it's smooth. So what we do? We give it a light iron with steam. And if it's made of fabric, when I apply the steam, the creases automatically flatten out. At work, I use this tool because I also use it on curtains and fabrics. But if you don't have one, of course, a regular iron works just fine. You see, You run it over and in 3 seconds the creases are gone. Obviously, it has to be folded because it needs to be packed and shipped, so it's normal for it to go through a packaging process. But once we steam it, it looks as beautiful as it did before. I use Satin protective coating to make decoupage stick to the drawers. I've cut fabric to perfect height for 2 drawers, applying generously. I ensure the decoupage sticks well. Emma, be sure to pull it to be comfortable. And remember the bird's head on furniture. As you've seen, we've removed and applied the decoupage again. Nothing happens. Now we're making it stick. Of course, our drawers are not flat at all. Quite the opposite, but we did that on purpose. I chose this piece of furniture like this because a tutorial is meant for learning, and it's important that you understand how it works, especially on more complicated pieces. To secure the decoupage properly, you need to apply the protective coating again, generously on top. You'll see the colors become vibrant and beautiful, and above all, you mustn't touch it anymore until it's completely dry and fixed to the surface. A night has passed because we finished late, so we thought it was even better this way. The fabric relaxes and gets rid of any creases that might form. So, remember, if you notice it shrinking and forming some creases, don't worry, they'll disappear. We've already removed and cut the central part to separate the 2 drawers. Now let's take off the clamps and see how it turned out before finishing. If you don't have any clamps readily available, you can easily join the drawers together with a simple bit of tape. Nothing will happen. There's no need to purchase clamps to join these 2 drawers. And voila, it is now perfectly divided. Now there's a crucial step to do. You need to remove the excess and carefully finish with sandpaper. You should use either a cutter with a brand new, extremely sharp blade, or Emma's recommended trusty companion, a scalpel. Let's just say the jokes almost write themselves. If the blade were sharp enough, surgeons would operate with it, right, Franco? But actually, surgeons operate with a scalpel. So, I work with the blade and Emma with the scalpel. You did put in a new blade, right? Good job. How lovely is it, right? In the end, I'm happy about one thing, the little bird's head, half underneath and half on top. I like it. At first, I thought it would be a problem and said, let's redo it. But now that I've set it, I love it because it looks more charming. I'm glad I was precise. The join is perfect, and I love that the lighter part of the forest, with lighter tones, is at the top, and the deeper and darker is below. Now we're carrying on. There's still a bit to do. We need to polish all handles, because I want to put them back as if they're some bijoux. Peppa Pig cup. This is essential, just to show you can use reclaimed things. Today I'll show you how we polish them with ammonia. So I don't use salt and vinegar. It's not always the best, but today, given the alloy these handles are made of, it's recommended. So, ammonia and more or less a bit of baking soda. I put in about 3 tablespoons of baking soda. I stir it around. Some handles aren't oxidized, some are dirty and greasy. As you can see, the water is already cloudy. This is because they quickly release all the grease and dirt from over the years. Could you pass me a sponge, please? The longer we leave them to soak, the better it works, and it's not as risky as using vinegar, because vinegar often dissolves some alloys. Let's take a handle that's had a little treatment. I don't want it looking like brand new gold. I just want it to regain its shine and brightness. If you have ornate handles, use a small brush, either a nail brush or a laundry brush, any inexpensive brush around the house. What I want is exactly this, and the difference is substantial. This one is gold, this one is bronze. So, if you have handles that are just dirty from age, remember that this method, especially for those who don't like vinegar, is perfect. Now, I'm going to wash them all, then soak them again for a moment, because it degreases them and makes them even shinier. We've decided to give this furniture a touch of originality by painting internal drawers with Serendipity, a very beautiful and deep purple. I'm using wall because it's fragrant, and since the inside of the drawers doesn't get the same wear as the outside, I can simply apply it without needing to protect it. I've already stirred the color very well. It's very important, and I don't dilute it, don't. Emma does the same on the internal drawers, because we like the idea that when you open them, there are these colorful little drawers. Look how stunning this color is. It's beautiful, and the contrast, opening the drawers and finding this strong color, in my opinion, is brilliant. Here, it's important to apply 2 coats. It's almost done. We have to apply the wax everywhere. There are different ways to make sure the wax penetrates deeply. Ideally, you'd use the steel we used earlier with the alcohol to strip the finish, and use it to massage the wax into the furniture, obviously using the fine kind. It's also worth mentioning that now a beautiful, very light wood has come out, and with the fine steel wool, we risk losing a bit of the grey, because being iron, it loses color. I want to avoid graying the furniture. I want it to stay this beautiful, lively, and natural. So, I apply the wax with a brush, and then I'll also use the Restauratore, because it will be perfect for this piece. I use the Legendaria wax with an old brush, my very first Oval 60. You can still see the red handle, but it still works perfectly, and it's ideal for wax. I spread the wax everywhere. Look how the color becomes so lively, pure, and a little warmer. Of course, when it dries, it goes back to being a bit lighter, less vibrant, but after using the Restauratore, it becomes really smooth, shiny, and protected. When you run your hand over it, this furniture will feel like a dream. The last step before setting the scene, but a very important one because the Restauratore will protect and brighten our desk even more. I'll use the same brush I used earlier for the wax, take a bit of Restauratore, put it on the tip and apply it all over the furniture. It's better to do this step the day after waxing. For logistical reasons I can't, but I've massaged my furniture well and let it dry for a few hours. Now I'll apply the Restauratore so that this step will be beautiful and decisive. Look, we massage it into the whole structure, but unlike wax, it needs to be massaged in immediately with a cloth. For the Restauratore to be beautifully protected, it must be massaged in straight away. Use just a little, don't overdo it, just a small amount, spread it well, and as soon as you finish the section, use a smooth cotton cloth, preferably lint-free, and massage it in. You'll rediscover a beautiful, truly velvety texture. It won't dry out or change color because often when you have briar wood or the finish dries, the color changes. Instead, the Restauratore will leave you with a completely even, beautifully protected, but above all, velvety surface. When you run your hand over it, it feels like velvet. Now I'm going to set the furniture in place and show you how beautiful it is. This is the finished piece and I'm very proud of it. So let me introduce you to my decoupage made exclusively for us Magic Paint by Redesign, a very beautiful American company that I really love, and it's truly my own interpretation of an enchanted forest. I'm very happy with the result because the shades from the darkest to the lightest look great on this type of furniture. So if you want to try it and you have a desk, go for it. Remember, the products you've seen, including this decoupage, can be found at Magic Paint retailers, which you can find on the magicpaint.it website. They are divided by region. Or you can find them on the only Italian website that sells Magic Paint, which is elisahome.com, not on Amazon. And let me know in the comments if you liked it. Goodbye.